Hey everyone, so guess what? Here I was thinking that it was illegal to own certain animals in various states, but recently I found out that this isn't necessarily true. Apparently, at least in some states, you can own animals that are prohibited. If you have a large following on TikTok. The story of Nudie began as a touching tale about an orphaned Nutria who was the only survivor of a car collision that led to the deaths of his siblings. By the way, they haven't mentioned if the mother was killed. He was rescued by the Lacoste family, who raised the Nutria, which is a large rodent also referred to as a koipu, and kept him as a pet. Despite being a wild, non-domesticated animal, Nudie thrived as a house pet. He even became a local celebrity, and on social media, he went viral on platforms like TikTok. Nudie was eventually featured in a feel-good story on the local news.
One Bucktown family says their rescue Nutria has grown into a spoiled local celebrity.
Newt invited us back to his corner where he hangs out at the shop all day.
And all was well for the large aquatic rodent and his family. Until it wasn't.
Like with criminals. I mean, really? Criminals? That's how they made us. That's how they made us feel.
This started as a lighthearted story we brought to you that a lot of you clicked on social media, but it has taken a turn. We first told you yesterday a Nutria that one couple kept as a pet. Well, tonight the state says the family can't keep him.
Whitney Miller was there when Wildlife and Fisheries showed up looking for the pet rodent.
Giving y'all ample opportunities to produce a Nutria. I feel like we've been very respectful this entire process.
An adopted Nutria is still on the lam. Now, the critter known as Nudie is wanted by Wildlife and Fisheries after becoming a viral sensation.
So it turns out that fans of the rodent weren't the only people who tuned in to Nudie's televised debut. After the story aired, the Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries came knocking at the family's door, telling them that they'd been investigating the family for a year and that nutrias are illegal to own as pets. They demanded that the family turn over Nudie, but apparently they claimed he wasn't on the property and refused to surrender him. The authorities even threatened legal action against the family if they didn't give the rodent up. They didn't anticipate that Nudie had a large following and that people would rally behind him staying with his owners. Even the news reporters seemed to spin their story in favor of Nudie's owners, letting viewers know where they could sign petitions for him to stay and buy t-shirts.
Family member is making these shirts that say "Free Nudie" to raise money for legal fees.
And we have more information on those t-shirts in this story on our website. Now, there's also a petition that started yesterday. This is a great, fun story. It got a lot of reaction. And then the next thing you know, he was wanted by the Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries.
And that's where I come in.
That's where Whitney comes in.
I called because we heard that they were going to come to their home to retrieve, confiscate the Nutria.
Eventually, the Department of Wildlife and Fisheries decided that they would give the family a permit to keep the Nutria, provided he gets regular vet checkups and he doesn't go into the restaurant the family owns.
A major update in the story of the beloved family pet rodent that was wanted by state authorities. Wildlife and Fisheries are now taking steps to allow the Lacoste family to keep their pet Nutria. And sympathize with people, though, because it seemed like there was a special connection here. And for some reason, the entire community has rallied around this family.
14,000 plus people on a change.org.
I think it was over 15,000 by around 5.
I mean, there have been t-shirts, there have been people talking on social media, and some people just felt like it was so wrong to take away something that this family just loves.
They are working on a permit that they can have so that they can keep the Nutria home, because it is still illegal for anyone to have a pet Nutria. You can't have a pet Nutria.
Okay, so I have a lot to say about this story. I'm glad that the family got to keep their pet. I mean, why do we need a law banning people from owning a rodent if that's what they feel like doing? Nutrias are highly invasive, but they are not normally kept as pets. Nutria were brought to this country because of the fur trade around sometime in the 1930s. But when that trade collapsed, they either escaped or were intentionally released. So it's not really their fault that they are causing problems. And the more of them that are removed from the wild, the better. So if someone wants to raise one as a pet, we should just let them, as long as they know what they're getting into. If it's legal to kill that same animal, we should be able to keep one. It's not like we're breeding and releasing them. However, laws banning citizens from owning wild animals, and I'm talking about animals that are actually from the wild, not captive bred exotic pets, are the norm in most states. Nudie's owners should have realized that he wasn't legal to own. Furthermore, I'm pretty shocked that, after refusing to cooperate with the authorities, the Department of Fisheries was forced to cooperate with them and issue them a special permit that is likely not available to others.
It is illegal to possess wildlife as a pet or for the pet trade. There is no permit for this activity and no permit will be issued for it.
Now, the online petition received nearly 20,000 signatures in less than 24 hours. Wildlife and Fisheries says the family has applied for a permit and special conditions will allow them to keep the animal.
The owners, who had lawyered up, even said this: "It's fine. They worked with us. They were nice and polite. We never had any problems. Just had to get through some legalities." I mean, listen to how entitled they sound, as though they're the ones that are calling the shots. Need I remind you, they broke the law, and Wildlife and Fisheries were just enforcing what the law says, yet they were forced to comply with the lawbreakers. Now, as is the norm in most states, permits for wild mammals are not given to private pet owners. Permits usually only exist for wildlife rehabilitators, zoo owners, and educational facilities. The Lacoste family is none of these. Nudie is a privately owned pet, and the owners are not USDA licensed, nor are they rehabbing this animal for release. His owners also were pretty much rewarded for not cooperating with the authorities. They even got support from Lieutenant Billy Newgesser, the governor of Louisiana, who essentially says the animal isn't dangerous and there's no reason to remove it.
Don't want to encourage anyone to break the law, but obviously if this pet is what it is not harming anyone, I can't see taking it away from the family. So hopefully they'll reconsider taking this pet that only knows that family and will be lost without it. If I had the authority, I would pardon this Nutria so it could spend its life with that family that loves it unconditionally.
Great, excellent. But what about other exotic pet owners? We love our pets too. We just happen not to be famous on TikTok. Did you hear that, Louisiana residents? The laws don't apply to you if you love your pets. Therefore, if the Louisiana government tries to take your pets from you, I'd sue them. So essentially what has occurred here is that the authorities have determined that Nudie's owners are above the law because they got pressured into letting the Lacoste family keep the rodent from online petitions and public scrutiny. They didn't even have to pay a fine or anything for breaking the law in the first place. And yes, I know they weren't aware of the law, but as they say, ignorance of the law, even a dumb law, is not a defense. My question is it now legal to own Nutria in Louisiana, or are Nudie's owners receiving a special privilege? So if I try to own a Nutria in Louisiana, do I just lose my pet because I don't have enough TikTok followers? Is this how their legal system works? If so, I object to that. Why should only certain people get special treatment because of fame? Why does this law exist in the first place? They need to change the law so everyone can keep animals that are of no harm to the general public. What's also amazing is how the whole "that exotic animal belongs in the wild" narrative flew out the window with this story. It seems as though nearly every comment is in support of them keeping this animal as a pet. It's just so funny to me that once there are cute videos and a heartwarming rescue story, now people get it. Now they see these laws as ridiculous. It needs to be mentioned that the Nutria are not normally so tame, even when hand-raised.
Dylan Lacoste says Nutrias make great pets if you get them young.
So if you get them when they're a little bigger, they'll be really mean and vicious.
Our Nutria experts have not seen even hand-raised Nutria as calm as Nudie.
That amazed me, because normally you have problems with them. And I would suggest that anybody that wants to do that be very cautious, because they're wild animals, especially the males. As they age up, they're ready to breed.
I have to say I was also very surprised. We've hand-raised them and wanted to use them for program But once they get a little older, they just become hard to handle. They want to bite, and they're just more wild.
So this means, once again, they look like a species that would be a good candidate for domestication with selective breeding of the tamest individuals. I've even seen several white-colored nutrias, which is sometimes a sign of a species that has undergone some level of domestication. This story is also a cautionary tale. Never flaunt your exotic pet to the general public. You never know what laws might have changed, or even if your city just decides to change their law and target you because your pet is strange to them. And of course, stay on top of what the law actually is. You never know what a state might ban, even if it is ridiculous. Essentially, it is the general public who gets to decide if you can own a certain animal. So really, it shouldn't be anyone's business if someone decides to keep a nutria, even if the animal makes a crappy pet or bites its owner or whatever. That should be their decision once they are informed of what they might face while keeping it.